Welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green. Ekabo, and welcome to the traditional herbal health with host Coach Ianti PhD. I would start off by reading an essay Ifa from Ogunda Bede. The sea does not harm the baby fish. The swamp does not scare the crab. Crab lives in the ocean with relish, divined for the mighty crocodile. Okay, that is today's essay Ifa. And we will now begin the show, and I would introduce you to the host of today's show, Coach Ianti. And before that, I would like to apologize for any viewers who was looking forward to the host the guest, we had scheduled for today's show. All right, we received a cancellation last minute, so as a result, the show would just go on as usual. All right, so I would welcome Coach Ianti, PhD, and she would introduce today's topic or theme.
Hey, Kassan. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back on the show where we get the opportunity to revisit, the lifestyle of our ancestors and how they ate to live a healthy life. And for this particular theme, our focus is how to eat to live. What's the best food? So, indeed, this afternoon,
Excuse me.
we were hoping to have the input of our guest, but we just had to go on. And my approach was somehow different this afternoon. So, because I wanted us to have a different point of view than the one that we would normally have on this show, I decided to present from. I'm not sure if you're gonna see, like, because of the light.
All right,
You may
I
not
think
see
we got a little glimpse. How to Eat to Live by Elijah Muhammad.
exactly.
Okay.
So, for the next 13 weeks, we're going to have different holistic health practitioners from different countries, many in the Caribbean, some from the motherland, but I really took the time to choose people who have different walks of life, different traditions, because this is who we are in the Caribbean, different people. And you would find that for most, all of them are very spiritual people. So sometimes the views of some may not be the views of the host, may not be the views of the channel, but it's not, the program is not about um, encouraging you to change your way of communicating with God. This is your decision. We are here to encourage you to revisit the traditions and pick and choose what works for you according to your own spiritual tradition, if you have one. That's all. So that being said, it was very interesting to read this book from Elijah Muhammad, because the title is Messenger of Allah. So therefore, this is an author who is a Muslim, and I am not.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, one of the things is that Ifa is universal, and
Exactly.
Ifa is also one of the oldest practices and system in the world. As a result of which, we do not look with any measure of aversion the practices of other people. We do not
Exactly.
also discredit or, you know,
Discriminate.
yeah,
Mhm,
discriminate against persons having different viewpoints. For that matter, I would say
mhm,
this boldly and openly for some of our viewers. There are a lot of people who practice Ifa who belongs to other religions.
mhm, yes.
All right. So we do not look upon anybody with aversion.
Exactly. So, just bear in mind the title. So, we will, if you have a holistic health provider in mind that you would like to see speaking on the show, feel free to contact either Refa Bemiro or myself, and we will reach out to the person. And that's regardless of the spiritual walk. We are one Caribbean people. Even if, it's many of us, but it's one Caribbean people.
I
Okay.
share. I share.
So, as I said, it was very interesting for me to read that book. If you are a very narrow-minded Christian, that may not be the book for you, from what I read. But if you are sufficiently open-minded, believe me, it is interesting. And I'm not advertising, but it's available on Amazon and it's affordable. So you could check it out for yourself. So a little about Elijah Mohammed. So I'm going to read because I really discovered that author. I did not know much about him, but he came to my attention because he was the mentor of Malcolm X, and I also read that he was the mentor of Louis Farrakhan. So he is said to be the leader of the Nation of Islam, as per Wikipedia quoting, and this from 1935 to 1975. He is said to be married to one wife, but he had many concubines, and to be the father of at least 23, the author of 8 books, and the founder of Temple Number 3, leader of Temple Number 1 in Detroit. And he was jailed also for 4 years for failure to register to serve in World War II. So it was important for me to mention those particular attributes of his life, especially the 23 children,
All right.
because
Yeah.
the topic,
Yeah.
yes.
Let me give a little more information on Elijah Muhammad.
Oh,
That
sure.
is
Because
hardly
when
written.
I started reading, I told myself, I'm sure you're cultivated about it.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
give some inside information about him that may not be written in books.
Okay.
Elijah Muhammad was
Mhm.
known as Elijah Pool Bey. He was also a member of the Moorish Science Temple before
Oh,
he broke off in 1934, and the
yes.
Detroit Temple that was
Mhm.
established in 35 as Allah's Temple number 1 was
Mhm.
Temple number 34 for the Moorish Science Temple.
Oh, so you just
They
went through
did
the whole
not,
temple.
yeah, yeah. Well, basically, what happened is the prophet
Mhm.
died. And when
Okay.
the prophet died, all of the temples kind of split up, splintered off, and everybody formed their own thing. So
Okay.
that was temple number 23 for the Moorish Science Temple, and it became known as Allah's Temple number 1 in Detroit, Michigan. The person who actually established and was senior over Elijah Muhammad, who was Elijah Poolbay at the time, was a
Mhm.
gentleman by the name of W.D. Farad, otherwise known as Wallace Muhammad. All
Okay.
right. So they wore fezzes and everything for about 8 years. And
Mhm.
after that, then they became the Lost Foundation of Islam. And that's when the whole Nation of Islam thing took off from there at that point. And then
Okay.
eventually, at the death of Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam split into two parts. One part being controlled by one of the sons of Elijah Muhammad, and the other
Okay.
part being led by Louis Farrakhan. So that is accurate information. Anyone could check it out, verify it with deep research. You know what I mean? And anyone who wish to challenge me on a debate concerning the
I would
history
not challenge you, trust me, but
of Elijah
I will
Muhammad can do
definitely
so.
read some more
But
because
yeah,
he
I
was a
became
great
national.
leader.
Mhm. He
He
was an
was a great
excellent.
leader.
He was an
Oh, yes,
excellent leader. Excellent.
definitely.
Mhm.
And through him, he really impacted, a lot of Black brothers and sisters to live a better life, not just in terms of the food they eat, but also in terms of investment, in terms of community, the community being independent and sustaining themselves, you know. So we encourage a lot of people to have restaurants, supermarkets, they had farms,
No, they
they had
still
their own
do.
laundromat,
All of the things,
restaurants.
all that you call, they still have. The Nation of Islam own all those things up till today.
Oh, really? Because I read that when he died, that's if I wrote it down, that the net worth of the overall nation was pretty heavy back then. I didn't write it down, but because it was just so much information that I wasn't able to just grasp everything, and I just had to memorize as much, just what we needed for this afternoon because it was short notice. I had in mind, and I will still approach. A speaker from the Muslim faith because they will probably have more information than what I just picked up from the book.
Yeah,
So,
they own restaurants, they own farms, they own newspapers, and they own a
schools.
plethora of mosques. I think they have two publishing houses also.
Because he wrote a lot of books, but I also realized that they had a lot of schools, and this was very important as well because one way of having, like, living a balanced, more say holistic lifestyle is to be able to impart it to your children, and the best way is not only to do it at home, but to make sure that the community in which you raise your children also share into your value. So that would be not just where you want to take them for worship, but also where they go to school. Because usually where they go to school or where they play is going to dismount or disrupt all what you have taught at home and what is being taught at the mosque, at the temple, at the yard, at the church, wherever it is that you worship. Okay. So
Okay.
I felt like this was a man of great influence, and I was surprised that holistic living, especially eating well, was also one of his topic of advocacy. So
Yes.
that's why I found myself lost in that book. I read about 75% of that book, and believe me, I think I'll be reading some more. And there's a part two of this book, so it says that if you like reading, feel free, the book is available. So what he says that the source of a good life is to eat well, and that eating regulation, he enforced eating regulation for all of his followers. And so I took some notes. That's why you're gonna see me like looking down a few times. And he said proper food for the body and the mind equals good health, because it's also written on page 56 that the two bodies, meaning the brain and the digestive system, have much in common. And technically, we also say that they are linked to each other, meaning that when you're grieving, when you are not okay, eventually you are going to feel to fall off track and eat maybe the wrong type of food, or food that you're not accustomed of eating, or food that you know is not good for you, but maybe like you don't have the willpower to do better. However, when you do so, you are causing your brain to be devitalized because you do not process the right nutrition, okay, to process good thinking. And he says that whatever hurts one hurts the other, which I was like, oh, wow. Imagine like this is a man who was writing those things before I was even born. Yeah, meaning that I was born after 1975. And I really like the way he expressed himself. So for him, people who were his followers had to be in the best mindset and physical health as possible. So he advocates a lot against eating sweets. He advocates a lot about against eating starchy food, and technically he also advocates against the Western diet. So in the Western diet, like we are talking about a lot of processed food. But I think that this is nothing new to most people who are dedicated to a healthy lifestyle or a natural lifestyle. When Dr. Akpe was on this show a few weeks ago, he did say, that we should try to eat as natural food as possible, God made food so that we could eat live food. And he also spoke about dead food. That's the way I explain it to my children as well, for them to understand. As long as you're opening a pack or you're opening a can, it's dead. So therefore, if you're still going to eat it because of circumstances, try to minimize how much you are eating. Okay. Um, Elijah Muhammad also said that, circumstances sometimes is going to cause us to really eat like in a cheap way. Especially right now, it's very difficult everywhere. So, noodles might be the way to go because noodles are cheap. However, it speaks about the Western diet is about commercializing. So therefore, there's going to be a lot of promotion on many food that's going to be sold at a very affordable price. But those things are there just to make money. So therefore, they are not good for your body, and they come with zero nutrition. No matter, it doesn't matter really what's written in the back of the nutrition labels, the nutrition facts, because it is all organized into, this supermarketing strategy to convince us that it's okay, we can still have it. You're going to buy, what would I think about? Chocolate bar, and you're gonna see that there might be vitamins in it. You will see like a small amount of vitamin B, small amount of vitamin A. But if you think about it, if it is man-made, how can it contain those nutrients that you need for your own health? So therefore, the topic this afternoon is clearly, to minimize as many processed food as possible, and to favor the natural food. What I found interesting as well is that he also spoke about hybrid food. So I'm pretty sure that this afternoon we have some people, who speak the Dr. Sebi's way, and I had the
All right.
opportunity to speak with, a practitioner, who works according to Dr. Sebi's teaching, very strictly according to his teaching, and there is a great emphasis on hybrid food. So therefore, according to Elijah Muhammad, however, the difference is that some hybrids are not good for you at all and you should leave it alone. But he also says that some of them, still have a positive impact on the body. And so therefore, according to him, it is okay to have them, to use them. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh, yes, Baba.
yeah. Before you go further, you mentioned labeling, and I want to just mention a couple more things about labeling.
Mhm.
One of the problems with labeling is a lot of the manufacturers would list ingredients, but they would use names that most
Mhm.
people are not familiar with. This is
True.
one of the way that they get past us, by kind of not
Mhm.
telling us directly what is the ingredients in the product. That's one. The
Mhm.
second thing is a lot of times you buy a food product and it tell you it's enriched with this vitamin and that vitamin.
Mhm.
All right. Now, what that means is that they actually took isolated vitamins and added it to the raw material. What do I mean by isolated vitamins? What I mean is through a chemical process,
Mhm.
what they do is they take just one element out of a food source
Exactly.
and label that as vitamin A, vitamin
Mhm.
B, or vitamin C. But the thing is, the human body does not assimilate one vitamin by itself. It
I
normally
agree with you.
assimilates in groups.
Mhm.
And by the groups being compounded together, it makes it readily easy for your system to absorb it. But once you
Exactly.
take it apart and then
Mhm.
you give me one part and then you leave out the other three parts and then a part of something else, it does not work for our bodies as it should.
Exactly. So I like to break it down to very, simple examples. Um, 20 years ago, maybe not. Let's go 25 to 30 years ago. I go that far. It was very common for most of us black women to perm our hair. And over the years, we were taught that whenever we perm the hair, we actually break the bone of the hair. And so you would, the first time you would perm your hair, you would have those long, long, like it looked beautiful and long, because that's what all of us want. We want long hair, and we want to go the easy way about getting the long hair. There is a natural way of getting long, shining hair as well, and that it is to eat well. But to get back to the example, when we perm our hair and we break the natural bone, what happens is that we end up with those split ends, thinning ends. And so we have to end up cutting it all the time. And you realize that over time, after a certain amount of years, you no longer have this beautiful long hair. It will grow. It will no longer grow as fast. But when you look back, your hair is gone. And so what happened for most of us, we had to go the harsh way. Some of us, you shave everything. Some of us, you let it grow back naturally little by little and then you big chop it. And what we realize over the years is that when we keep our hair natural, we have a much healthier hair. It grows longer. That's why, like, back in the days, the sisters didn't used to embrace the locks as much as today. But nowadays, you realize that the less you trouble your hair and you lock it, you realize that it can grow and it can grow very long and very strong. So that's just to take the example of the hair. And another simple example, if you cut my finger, this is my finger, this is Coach Yanti's finger. But if you cut my finger, this is no longer Coach Yanti. So therefore, when you isolate, a particular part, a particular molecule from a plant, you cannot expect it to function the same as if you get the whole plant and you get the whole system together in your body. Now, I'm going to be honest that a lot of practitioners are going to think differently. Like, for example, many people are confused of the difference between a naturopath and a naturopathic doctor, a naturopathic physician. Okay, well, this is the difference. The naturopath is going to use a whole plant naturally, whereas the naturopathic physician is going to apply a whole lot more bioprocessing in extracting some substances from natural products to isolate and to recreate supplement. However, um, it's up to you. It's your choice of what you want in your body. And so sometimes when people tell me like, I can get such supplement maybe for $5 cheaper at the pharmacy, go ahead, buy it. But remember, when you get it at the pharmacy, you do not have the whole plant. You have you have a so-called natural supplement that has been prepared according to an entire, like an entire process with a lot of isolation of nutrient material. You also have a lot, it's enriched with a lot of additive, etc. So it's never the same as when you get a product that is prepared in small batches.
That is
Uh,
100% natural and organic.
Thank you very much. Voila. So, this being said, there is an emphasis in this book to eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits. He warns against overindulgence. Overindulgence, that's a very important word because sometimes, like as I've said before, I work especially with ladies. So I've had ladies sometimes who want to lose weight. And the first week, we go through the process that we have to really reduce how much we eat. And we go little by little so that we could start, creating that shift in the body. Now, some people probably want to eat like 25 pineapple, I'm exaggerating, of course, in one day. And at the end of the week, I didn't lose any weight. Okay, how many pineapple did you eat? Okay, I ate 50 pineapple over the week. How do you expect to lose weight eating that much? Yeah, but pineapple is good to lose weight. So it's not about what's good for your health, and it's not about, what it is good for. It is about how you use it. And to be overindulgent, that means that to eat often and to eat too much is something that is weakening your body, your system, because it means that your stomach is constantly busy trying to break down all what you eat and to digest. Okay. He spoke also about people who are the office workers, people who sit down very often. So therefore, those there, if you know you're not going to exercise, you should not eat as much as someone who get up and walk. Someone probably is working on a field, someone who is lifting weight, because these persons are burning a whole lot more energy than you do sitting at the desk. So now I do not minimize the effort of the office worker, because for many years I also work in an office and I would go home and brain dead, very tired. But at the end of the day, you end up gaining weight because your brain is there, but your body still need to move. And when we are stressed, as I said earlier, what do? We end up munching a lot. So Elijah Mohammed also warned us against munching. So he actually advocates that we should have one healthy meal per day. Watch my finger. One healthy meal per day. And I support that. It's not easy. If you want to look, there is this lady on Instagram. She lives in Holland and she's a nurse. And her Instagram handle is OMAD. That's 1 meal a day. And she shows you that she eats anything she wants in that 1 meal. And she took the time. It took her, I think, 3 years, 3 years to lose all the extra weight that her body needed to burn. All right. Because she can afford to eat what she wants, even if it may not be necessarily healthy, because she reduced the amount of food that her body has to digest every day. Okay. So, of course, I'm not encouraging you to eat any and anything, because what works for her may not work for you, especially if you are already under different health condition. And I want to speak about diabetes because I read a part on diabetes in this book where he really recommend that those suffering from diabetes should stay away from starch food. They should stay away from sweet, from candies, but also he advocates that they should really eat 1 meal a day. And for some, he also advocates to eat every other day. And it's funny because those are stuff that were written uh, over 40 years ago. So I was about to come, but I realized I'm over 40. So it's over 40 years ago. And however, the alternate fast diet, like I'm not sure how they call this one, where you fast for 48 hours and you eat every other day, it seemed to be a new trend. But as you can see, like it's nothing new. It's something that was known from a long time ago. And that's why visiting our tradition, our heritage is always something highly recommended. Even if the word tradition come with a lot of connotation according to your circle, okay? Um, that's what people used to do in the past. You talk with the elders. So the elders would tell you how they used to handle things in time past, and they would give you advice so that you could, live a better life. Okay. One thing he spoke about a lot is wine. Eating pig, it can be a very delicate topic. And I'm swallowing before I say anything because I know that many other people who are looking at us do eat pork. I don't, but that's my choice. And I don't because for many years I was part, when I first started to go to church way back when I was a teenager, in that church, people never used to eat any pork. So therefore, I just kept it, in my lifestyle of not eating pork. Furthermore, um, I want to extend that to animal food in general. Whenever we choose to eat fish or meat, we should try to get the best source. So therefore, you have to pay attention to what does this fish or what does this animal eat. Okay, so if you know you're eating something that gonna eat garbage, I mean, some years ago after my daughter was born, we spent some time in Anguilla in her family, and we were given goat meat to eat. And I was hesitant to eat the goat, but I didn't want my daughter to not eat her aunt's food. So I forced myself to eat the goat. Now, eating goat wasn't against my religion. It was not. Okay. But you see, even if it was well seasoned, it really tasted well. Every time when I saw those goats in the yard eating dirty pampers, roaming, eating garbage all around, I felt very disturbed to eat that same goat. But I didn't want my daughter to not eat the lady's food. So therefore, we ate the goat meat. And my daughter really enjoyed it. And when she was about to ask for more, I asked her, "Do you know what you just ate?" And she said, "Meat." And I tell her, "Goat meat." And, she had this reaction. And she told me, "Which goat?" And tell her, "Look, the goat outside in the yard." "Oh, mommy, why you didn't tell me?" It is important also, what is an animal being fed. All right. So if you don't know, if you don't know, like, the commercial chicken that we would buy at the supermarket and even the beef, etc., etc., if it is not farm raised, this is not healthy to eat. So that would, of course, extend to KFC and all the rest. I'm not there, to send any stones anywhere. But, it's like technically you put this gun and you just shove it down the throat of the animal and you decide how much you're pouring on, whether the animal can take it or not. I know for a fact that for the chicken, whenever they are overfed, and the duck as well. Okay. Whenever they are overfed, they will put a rubber band all around the neck to make sure they don't vomit and the food to stay down, and so they could grow fatter. And we eat that. What do you think it can do for your body? You know, and that's a question I'm just throwing out there. Ask yourself. So it is true now that if we look at everything, we're gonna wonder, but what shall I eat? And that's when we advocate being able to eat what we grow. Even if you eat less, but at least you eat better. Yes, everybody doesn't have a farm. So I don't know for Trinidad, but I know that in St. Martin during confinement, everybody was so bored that everybody found a way to grow something. And everybody would go out and post on Facebook after a couple of weeks, I got this. You would get 2 peppers and you'd be rejoicing. I got 2 peppers because those are 2 peppers from the fruit of your labor. And it's not the same value if you get 2 peppers done by the Chinese supermarket. It's not the same value. And so you appreciate the food more. And there is like this joyful feeling, meaning that your body is going to digest that food even better. And it's not a joke, and I'm really serious about it. So I'm not sure how
Okay.
long I'm staying this evening because I know we started late.
Yeah, no, we just go the extra half an hour to make it a 1 hour program.
Okay.
But I mean, you've raised several things. Earlier you mentioned the issue of hybridization,
Yes.
right? The issue of hybrid is a major issue. Hybrid versus organic.
Mhm.
All right. Now, normally what we refer to as hybrid is when you have cross breeding of different species, whether
Mhm.
it be of fruits, vegetable, or animal,
Yes.
to produce something new.
Mhm.
In other words, something that is not in nature.
Mhm.
The problem with hybrids is that the human body does not know what to make of these substances because they are strange
Mhm.
to the body.
Yes.
So, not only does it cause confusion in the body, but in some cases, it is recognized almost as poison,
Sure.
right? Methods that have been used for hybridization, particularly in plants, would have been things like cross pollination and would have been things like grafting of plants,
Mhm.
right? The effects of these things has been recognized for many years, and in many cases, a lot of these products cause a lot of reaction in the body, or what we call allergic reaction.
Sure.
And in some cases, it causes autoimmune diseases and dysfunctions.
Mhm.
So that is
Especially if
some of
your
the
health is not so good,
concerns,
huh?
yeah, about hybrid. Then you have
Mhm.
beside the hybrid, which is one problem, you also have the issue of genetically modified organisms,
Yes.
and you also have issues with genetically engineered food.
Mhm.
All right. Now, it's all sorts of different sciences are being applied to the manufacture of these foods that would have what we consider to be desirable characteristics in terms of taste, appearance, in terms of them being pest resistant, and things of that nature.
I'm very forward to see.
Right now, Elijah Mohammed
Mhm.
didn't go very deeply into issues of that nature. But what he definitely spoke about quite a bit is the consumption of certain beans. I think I've even heard Dr. Sebi say on some of his recording that he himself was a follower of Elijah Muhammad. And he also mentioned that Elijah Muhammad, in fact, originally wanted all his followers to become vegetarians. But
Mhm.
he said most of the people was not willing and were not able to make that dramatic sort of a dietary change.
Yes.
Yeah, so as a result of that, and I'm quoting Dr. Sebi here heavily,
Mhm.
as a result of which he just made certain restrictions and allowed
Mhm.
them to eat mostly everything that they would normally eat.
Yeah. Because I read in the book as well, that he did not even recommend that people eat chicken. He did not even, but he said, it's not good for us. And he says in the book, Allah says it's not good for us, but we still eat it anyhow. Okay, so it did, made, provision because everybody would not have been able to be part of the movement if
Yeah,
he
yeah,
would been too strict on the diet. And
yeah.
then
He
he
made
did that.
he made compromises as far as not being too strict
Yes,
because
yes.
of people's dietary practices and habits.
So this, bring us to what is usually promoted by those marketing companies selling supplement, and they will tell you it's 80% in the nutrition and 20% exercise. So therefore we feel, well, if it's just 20% exercise, I'm not going to exercise. I'm just going to wear a waist trainer. Lord, ladies, don't kill me.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that ratio of 80-20 unless it's alkaline and acid we're talking about.
I'm
But
just,
I don't know that that ratio is correct. That is just
I'm
20%
not saying that it is
exercise.
correct. Remember what I said, Papa. I said like those marketing companies promoting supplement, they would say 80% nutrition and 20% exercise. So therefore, many people who need to get in shape would say, well, especially if they don't like to exercise, they would just decide that let me just ditch the exercise and let me just focus on the nutrition. Forgetting that if you just focus on the nutrition, you're gonna spend all your money out to a company to buy as many supplements as possible. But even those supplements are not 100% natural. Okay.
But then,
And
yeah, we need to discuss the concept of supplements because I
mhm,
think a lot of our viewers and people out there in general
mhm,
have the idea that if they use a multivitamin or a overall mineral supplement, that they don't even have to eat some food.
mhm,
I don't know. Probably we need to explain to people that supplement simply means in
supplement,
addition to
additional, yes,
a balanced meal,
exactly.
right? It's simply an accompaniment. That's what the word supplement implies. In addition to, or to go together with. That is the concept. It's not a meal.
It's not a
Taking in,
meal.
right, taking in a health shake. It's not a meal. Taking some multivitamins. It's
Let me
not a meal.
pause right here. So eating, a porter, you just take the porter and you pour it in whatever you pour it and you shake it and that's your meal. It's like you put your whole life, your whole vitality, your whole longevity in the hand of a company that's marketing to convince you to buy food from them. That's one. But I would like to just bounce on that also to speak about the smoothies. So a few years ago, at the beginning of my journey into nutrition, we were promoting a lot of green smoothies, and in those green smoothies, we were trained to advocate 60% greens and 40% fruits, so that it would be sweet to the taste. So that even if you would hear all kinds of sort of be like, oh my God, I can't eat that. But once you would drink it, you would taste it, it would taste sweet. So therefore, you would still go ahead and go with it. However, you realize that very few people will tell you I'm not losing any weight, or they would only lose a small amount of weight and then they would plateau and can't go down more. Reason why is because when the body is already depleted and that you are giving the body too much to digest at the same time. So that would be, for example, you putting, sorry, I have cats. I'm sure you're hearing that in the background. I'm sorry. And you put like different type of fruits fibers, different type of vegetable fibers put together in one drink, and you want your body to digest that all the time. It is not good. And you always have to put into consideration, right, that even if, for example, you are able to do laundry, to wash clothes, to wash dishes, to iron, to do all of those things in one particular day, are you able to do everything every day and never get tired? You must get tired at some point. And so therefore, and this is where we go back into overindulgence. It's not about, just because this is good, so you just put everything together and you expect it to work. Same with the fruit salads. This is very it's a very Western approach to eating fruit than to eat a fruit salad where you just cut different fruits and you just throw them in together and you have it. You are mixing a lot of different fibers, acid together,
No,
and you want the
well,
body to feel good digesting everything at the same time. Whereas it's not the same time to process every fiber, every acid. So it's like it's putting a strain on the body.
actually, yeah, there
Sure.
are rules concerning what food groups and what you could eat together with what and what you shouldn't eat together with what and all of this. For example, you don't use fruits and vegetables in one meal. So if you're going to have a
Exactly.
smoothie that's going to be
Mhm.
fruits and vegetable in one, you're heading into some digestive problems right
Thank
away.
you. Thank you.
So even combining foods, one
Mhm.
has to know which groups could be combined with other
Mhm.
groups that would
Yeah.
allow you to have no digestive issues.
Feels, yeah.
You
Like,
know, for
have this
example,
bloated syndrome.
right, if you were to take high carb fruits or sweet fruits that has high carbs and you mix them with acid fruits, it produces fermentation.
Sure.
So you have to know what
Mhm.
to combine and what
Mhm.
not to combine. So the whole concept of the smoothie is novel, is interesting that we could just throw everything in the blender and just drink it, and then we have a completed meal for the day. There is a lot that one has to learn
Sure.
concerning nutrition
Sure.
before
Sure.
one attempts to combine these
Definitely.
things to produce juices. This is why we always try to give a disclaimer. We explain to people we're not giving you no medical advice.
No.
But we definitely would tell you if you
Mhm.
have to go to be helped that you go to qualified people. You go to people who know what they are doing. You go to
Sure.
people who have some measure of experience. You
Uh-huh.
go to people who have received, whether it is traditional training through some other elder who has been in the tradition of healing for a long time,
Mhm.
and even if it is issues where your condition is acute, we always recommend you go see a doctor. Because
Definitely.
I'm telling you straight, I'm a herbalist, and if someone comes to me and they tell me, well, I don't know what's wrong with me, but my head hurting me, I say, listen, try and go to your doctor and find out what is the problem. You know, let the doctor tell you this or that is the problem, and then when you finish with that, then you
Mhm.
could come back to me, and then I can only help you when I know what is wrong. If I don't know what is wrong, I'm not going to be able to help you.
And that's the issue, and and that's another topic, we always have to come back to. Nowadays, you would find all manners of herbalist school of this, etc. Sometimes when I'm reading, especially I read on the Kindle, so you pass through the internet, so you get a lot of ads. And because I think, like, I'm not sure how they work that out with the cookies and everything. So it's like sometimes if you click on a link and you stay there long enough, while you're on Facebook or on Instagram, you would have like targeted ads, streaming on your timeline. So, for example, and I would have a lot of stuff concerning Ayurveda. So sometimes the stuff is so well written that I do click, but when I do click, I go straight in the About Us section to see who is teaching who. And sometimes I find that some people, Western people, from every part, wherever in the world, and they are the one teaching all those stuff about Ayurveda and making supplements. Because the first stuff is that with Ayurveda, they have two parts: the traditional, or whether you go to university to receive a bachelor of Ayurvedic medical science, and you're supposed to be able to do surgery also with that particular bachelor's degree. Okay, and after going through this one, then you are able to perform as an Ayurvedic physician, Ayurvedic doctor. And then there is the traditional path where you go the way of the ancestors, so there will be a lot of mantras, etc., etc. But how can you perform traditional Ayurveda if you did not convert, for example, to Hinduism? If you know, and some of them do convert. So those who do convert, then I could listen to what they say because I know that it come maybe from a sacred text. But if you still living your life in any other way you want, and you're telling me you're doing traditional Ayurveda, I'm out. But everybody is not going to be able to discern and make the difference.
No, well, I
Okay.
mean, it's important for shows like this where we have people like yourself who are
Mhm.
qualified in that field that could give the viewers some idea as to what are the qualifications, what are the qualifying marks, and what
Mhm.
they need to look for when they go to someone who claims to be an Ayurveda specialist or doctor.
But it's like when it comes to that, I go further. For example, when I was trained for traditional medicine with a heavy Ayurvedic background. And indeed, that's when I was introduced a lot to different parts of Hinduism. And all this was like brand new for me. And I realized that it would have become difficult to carry out Ayurveda, the foundation of my practice, if I wasn't going to become a Hindu. However, I never had considered that I wanted to become Hindu. You understand? And really, like it caused me to really sit down for quite a while and meditate about it. So during that time, I was not preparing any supplement, but I promoted supplement from different other company I associated myself with back then, and most of them I no longer recommend their products. Why? Because for the same purpose, it's not 100% natural. Usually, it's very expensive, and especially when we are in the Caribbean. I mean, there were times when I would see like one supplement for 60 US. When you purchase it at 60 US in the from the company. You get it shipped to wherever, come back to the Caribbean. And we are duty free. You guys pay duty. You understand what I mean? And so now you find people trying to pay some stuff like in 3, 4 installment. Whereas if you just open your back door, you're gonna find the bush growing right be like the bush is growing wild in the back door. And so for lack of knowledge, and you would get even greater result with the bush in the back door or by the river, in the mountain, in the hill, wherever it is that you're getting it, because this is like 100% wild crafted in its natural element than the one you're gonna get from the company. Okay. And so I apologize if what I say is hurting anybody's business venture, because this is not the goal. I really
No,
have to
yeah,
apologize
yeah,
because
no, no. Well,
I do have
listen,
a lot of friends in
no,
Trinidad, that we used
one,
to be part of the same company. So I apologize. It's really
no,
not to
no,
hurt
no,
your
no. You,
business
you don't have
venture.
to apologize. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
we providing tips for people, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think one of the things that you're talking about is
Mhm.
very important for our viewers to understand. There is no way that one shoe could fit every foot.
Exactly.
All right. So
Mhm.
even though, all right,
Mhm.
I have products that I sell to anyone.
Mhm.
However, the reality is every individual need is
Mhm.
different. Even if a person have one disease and another person have the said disease and another person have the same disease, when you study the pathology of the disease, people
Yeah.
are at different stages of the same disease. So
Mhm.
what medicine would work for one person
It's not
would
gonna
not
work
work
for
for
the other.
someone else. So
Exactly.
the whole idea is that if you're going for help, whether you're
Mhm.
going to Ayurveda specialist, whether
Mhm.
you're going to a herbalist,
Mhm.
whether you're going to a traditional medicine person,
Mhm.
the idea is that the person must take an interest in what is going on with you as
With
an
you,
individual
exactly. And if
in
they're
a
not serious about
holistic
selling, doesn't matter. It doesn't make
in a,
sense. I mean.
in a holistic way.
Mhm. If it's just about selling, it's like, you should take this, you should take that. By the time the people finish their presentation, you're 300 USD. Ask yourself a question, you know.
Well, that
Ah,
I mean, if you're doing sales, I understand everybody have the sales pitch. But all
I mean,
right,
if you sales your sales, but it's like you have to be careful and you have to know who are you going to. Okay. And for example, that's why I even with the big title and everything, and that's why sometimes maybe people might wonder, okay, why don't I promote myself as doctor of this, doctor of that? And yes, I could, because it looks really nice on the CV. I'm not gonna lie, because before you reach to PhD, you have quite a few, so the CV looks good. But at the end of the day, the truth is that when all was done, I am not Indian. And so, therefore, when it comes to traditional medicine, it was my duty as a holistic person to also go back and, learn from the traditional way from elders of my own traditions. So, therefore, this is what I tell people. When people tell you that they are doing traditional medicine because back in the days people used to use etc. etc., you have to pay attention to who is talking to you, what are they teaching you, but not what are they teaching you, is how do they live that in their daily life. Okay, because if it is somebody who is saying you must do this, and but they live any and anyhow, tell me how their blends or their recommendation is going to help you. So that's why we being a diversity of communities in the Caribbean, we don't just stick to one particular tradition, and then we're talking from this. I'm sufficiently open-minded, especially being in St. Martin, that is a lot of nations in St. Martin. We go to different people and we hear, okay, in your specific part of your tradition, okay, what do you guys eat to be healthy? What did your elders do? And that's what we want to do. And we want to, have more people coming in and exchange with us. And what we would want while we are here, whenever we have guests and you really enjoy the presentation, we are going to give you a little code so you could put it in the comment. So you would know, for example, when you like a presenter more than the others. So those that you really like, we will invite them more often. So that's a way, of keeping the show more,
Interactive.
more interactive here, but especially for you to hear and receive what you truly need.
Okay. But yeah, I think one of the things is with Creole medicine, particularly in the Caribbean region. I mean, we'll go back to Elijah Mohammed just now.
Oh,
But
yeah, because I have two books. So trust me, we will go back for
but
sure.
we don't have much time though. But I
I
just
know,
wanted to
not just
say,
to lie, but it's like I chose that film to carry out over 13 weeks. So
yeah,
we'll have
well,
more than enough time to go back.
all right, yeah, we would probably revisit again next week. But
Mhm.
I wanted to say, creolized medicine for us in the Caribbean here
Mhm.
takes us to many different pharmacopoeia belonging to different
Yes.
nations of the world. For
Mhm.
example, in Trinidad, we have the Chinese community, we
Mhm.
have the Indian community, we have
Yeah.
the African community, we have
Mhm.
the indigenous community. And
Mhm.
the local herbalists here, most of the African herbalists,
Mhm.
knows herbs from all of those pharmacopoeia. They can show you all the Indian herbs, show you all the Chinese herbs, they can show you
Mhm.
the African herbs, they could show
Yeah.
you the indigenous herbs. So I mean, fortunately for us in the Caribbean here, we
Mhm.
don't have a one-sided approach
Exactly.
to traditional health, you know.
Mhm.
But one thing I want to say though about the Elijah Muhammad's approach with the one meal a day,
Yeah.
right? This is a highly effective means of weight control,
Oh yeah.
and also diabetes is mentioned. Dr. Sebi spoke of it also,
Mhm.
right? The importance of fasting,
Oh
right?
yes.
Which I know we would go much into later on,
Oh yes.
right? But the one meal a day plan works
Mhm.
very well in keeping you in very good form,
And
right?
let me come to your rescue before you go any further, Baba. Some people will say 1 meal a day, that's impossible. You break it down, you train your body to get there, you know? So, like, if you need maybe to drink 2 smoothie and have 1 meal a day, start with that until you could just have 1 meal per day, but you just train your body. You don't just step into that today for tomorrow. And it's even said in his book, he warned people from doing this. Train your body and take it gradually.
So it requires discipline.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
but resting of your digestive system is something that is also important, especially for those who are advanced in age.
True.
because your digestive
Women.
system doesn't need to be working 24 hours a day,
Mhm. For
you
women
know?
as well, women who have had children and so on, the body is tired. So, to take one day off or half a day, where you eat less or you don't eat at all, that's great for your body. And like for those women who have a lot of skin issues, they realize that when your liver get a break, trust me, you no longer need to buy so much thing to, deal with skin imperfection or to cover up, etc. It's like even I have, let me see on this side, I have skin discoloration on this side here, and it does not bother me, because my face doesn't break out or anything in particular. So it's like you just need to eat the right way, and there's something like, since you know so much about him, like I would like to ask you, is his view about eating hot bread or bread that is not, cooking out for when it is still too hot? Because people, I would say children, once you get a cake out of the oven or bread, phew, everybody wants because it's hot, it's crunchy, it's soft. But he says that the leaven is still active, and so
Okay.
that when you eat it
Well,
too, when you eat it too
yeah,
hot, go ahead, go ahead.
that right there is for a whole other show, because I would say this to you. Um, Several things about bread,
Hmm.
not just one thing. There are several things. The yeast is one.
Yes.
Elijah Muhammad speaks of it, and the effect of yeast on our cells cause our cells to split, right? When the cells split, they multiply in an irregular fashion. This leads to cancer of various types. All right. It also damages our brains. Elijah Muhammad said this also. Um, the yeast is one thing. The other issue with bread is the fresher bread is the more fat it contains,
True.
right? And there is an issue of the buildup of plaque because
Hmm.
of the fat associated to bread consumption with white flour. All
Yes.
right. So those are two of the issues that maybe we could explore in future episodes of the show, right? Normally,
Hmm.
if you want your bread to be used in a way that it would do minimum negative effect, is you either allow your bread to age before it begins to mold, if you're making natural wholesome bread, grain bread, and the other thing that is done is the bread is toasted in order to remove a great amount of the fat content of it. Not necessarily burnt up, but toasted. Just for
My grandmother used to send me back to the bakery. It's like for me, like the earlier years of my childhood, I was born in France. And so whenever I used to visit my grandmother, I'm laughing, sorry. And I can remember she would tell me to go and buy the bread. And I would buy the bread and come back home and she'd tell me, what? The bread is so white, bring it back. And I used to feel so embarrassed in my little French accent to tell the people, my grandmother said, bake the bread, bring it back. When it's a little brown,
she
she doesn't
wanted with
want
crust.
it.
She wanted bread with crust. No, and she's correct. Because that portion of the bread that is crusty contains
Mhm.
less fat. It's the healthier
Definitely.
part of the bread, you
Yes.
know? But yeah, we have 1 more minute, so I would allow you to close off the show.
Okay, well, definitely, as I say, it's like one of some of you might wonder, okay, why did we choose that one in particular? Well, I'm gonna tell you. If a man can father 23 children out of several partners, it means that that man had a lot of stamina and that man was very healthy. And on top of it, he was a man who had a close relationship with God. So therefore, I felt like if it was worthwhile to sit down and listen to his wisdom, even if his style of worship is not the same as mine, but definitely results always speak louder than anything else or any other theory. And as I say, if a man can father 23 children, and they say at least 23, meaning there could be more, but there were 23 registered children. Listen, this is food for thought, and therefore you should consider reducing the amount of meals. That's one thing we can recommend, over this episode is like, start to cut down on how much you eat. So what we can do from today, for example, is this like tomorrow we're not gonna be munching. Let's try 1 week where we are not munching, and then when we come back next week, please put it in the comments and tell us about your experience. 1 week without munching and snacking, 1 week without probably like, okay, let's do, 1 week without beer, for example. Or, try to take something out of your diet for 1 week, and then you come back next week when we speak again. You tell us in the comment what was your experience, because it's all about feeling better and do it the natural way.
Okay, well, with that, we would like to say thank you all for viewing. And we want to say Odabo, but before that, we want to remind you to like, subscribe, and share the stream. And with that, we'd see you next week.
Bye
Odabo.
bye.